Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Do any of these describe you? You're employed, but you have more time amid the stay-at-home edicts, and so you want to up your game so you can improve your career trajectory. Or, you're employed, but you're worried you'll join the 17 million people who have been let go in the past few weeks because of the economic shutdown. Or, you're unemployed, and amid the vastly increased number of unemployed people, you're deferring looking for a job, and in the meanwhile, want to upskill to improve your prospects of landing good work when the job market improves. Or you'd like to do something more useful with your time than playing board games, cleaning out your closets, or making elaborate recipes. Here are some ways to upskill. First, regarding reading, retaining what you read, and using what you've learned. Try reading more efficiently. Read on a just-in-time basis, what you need or want to know now. Not only will you be more motivated to read it, you'll more likely retain it and implement what you've learned because you'll be applying it right away. Read more articles rather than books. Articles represent distilled expertise. Of course, some books retain their value per minute through its hundreds of pages, but on average, you'll learn more value by reading the same number of pages of on-target articles, or even far fewer pages. Finding articles based on a Google search is particularly effective because Google search's algorithm puts the most read and forwarded articles at the top of the search results. Those articles are particularly likely to be of value to you. Plus, because the article is online, instead of you having to type nuggets into a Word file, you can simply copy and paste them. Even if you're just reading an article, read efficiently. Read the first bit carefully and then decide whether to keep reading and at what speed, from careful to skimming, or just read the headings and bullets to decide which, if any, sentences you should read. Or, after reading the beginning of the article, just jump to the summary at the end. Now let's turn to upskilling your writing. Unless you're a James Joyce, Thomas Pynchon, or David Foster Wallace, remember that clarity is king. Your goal is to communicate clearly, succinctly, and maybe with a bit of humor to make the medicine go down, so your reader will bother to read it and understand it without having to reread it. Don't try to impress with fancy words or overly complex sentences. Impress with your clarity of reasoning and of expression. It's hard to self-assess that, so after you've completed a draft, show it to a trusted friend in your target audience and ask for candid feedback. Unless you explicitly ask for criticism, most friends are going to want to be nice, and so they'll withhold what you probably most need to hear. Now let's turn to giving a talk. Most viewers of this aren't going to be giving a major speech anytime soon, but you may well want to or have to say a few words in some virtual meeting, professional or personal. Most common professionally is the few-minute report on something you've been working on. Rarely is the best preparation to script it, but rather to write your 2 to 4 main talking points in some logical sequence and ad lib based on that. Don't worry about not being glib or saying too many ums and ahs. Those are usually be more than compensated for by the chemistry that's created in a not memorized talk. First, practice that approach with a topic you know a lot about. Maybe it's your autobiography or your hobby. Then try it with a work-related topic. Record yourself on your phone, then listen back, putting yourself in the target audience's shoes. And then maybe try a 2-minute talk in front of a friend you trust. Now let's turn to preventing and addressing conflict. An ounce of prevention is, well, you know, some battles are worth fighting. Those that really matter and that you have a chance of winning. You can assess that before launching in, and you should. If you decide it is worth a conflict, you're usually going to maximize the chances of it ending well if your approach maintains the person's self-esteem. Usually you can do that by sandwiching. You start with legitimate praise of something the person's doing or has done. Then you tactfully state your concern, allowing honest room for disagreement, like, I appreciate you doing X. I do have one question. I'm wondering whether Y might be better. What do you think? Now that said, there are times when a person is so wrong about something that's important enough, and preserving the person's self-esteem would merely make that person more impregnable to changing what's clearly bad behavior. or bad viewpoint. In such rare cases, you may want to unleash the nuclear option. Shake the person from complacency with your unbridled bluntness. As with most nuclear option so-called cures, the cure is often worse than the disease, but it can't hurt to keep the nuclear option in your arsenal. Of course, in the calmness of my talking to you here, it's easy for me to suggest what to do. When you're annoyed, let alone angry with someone, it's tough to not jump to the nuclear option. Do the best you can. Take a deep breath, walk out for a moment if you have to, and then try to be your statesman-like self. In the end, getting the person to change may not be as important as you're feeling it is that moment. You might even be wrong. Listening open-mindedly to the other person's response to your concern may be the best way to avoid unnecessary conflict and its consequences. Now let's turn to learning new software. For most people, the most potent and time-effective approach to learning software is self-study guided by a tutor. What's worked for my clients is to play with the software for a bit, noting your questions and your stuck points. Then find a tutor, maybe someone who teaches a certification course, or at a community college where faculty is hired mainly on how well they teach, not their research. Usually it's wise to not let the tutor structure the sessions. Have each session, whether it's by phone or Skype or maybe with screen sharing, you might use AnyDesk, to focus on answering your questions, those that you'd accumulated and those that come up during the session. Now let's turn to time management. Is your current system ineffective? Have you gotten in the habit of, for example, spending too much time on things you no longer want to, some unimportant but if pleasant aspects of work, on some avocation, some socializing, or yes, being under the influence? Do you want to replace one or more of those with, for example, an activity that's closer to your deeply held beliefs? For example, mine is that I believe it's wise to spend as much time as I can helping people with life's practical problems. Do you not only have but use a calendar, digital or paper, to log your scheduled appointments, and you check it throughout the day? Otherwise, it doesn't help to have the calendar. Do you have a paper or digital place for your unscheduled to-dos? Because I'm at my desk so much, I simply use a 3x3 memo cube, this thing here, that sits prominently on my desk, so I can't help but look at it all the time. Do you need to better manage your procrastination? It may help to force yourself to do the things you know you should, supplementing as you need to with techniques such as the Pomodoro. You remember that. It's work 20, break 5, work 20, break 5, work 20, break 10. Or start with the 1 second part of a task. For example, turning on the computer, opening the book, whatever. Sometimes that can get you rolling. The coronavirus is pretty darn horrible, but there are a few silver linings. The chance to upskill is one. Many of my more recent YouTube videos describe others. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, but I particularly love it if you hit the share button below and share on your social media so that my efforts have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.